The applause had just started when the microphone suddenly screamed loudly. It made my ears hurt, like someone had hit a high-pitched note with a hammer. A voice thundered across the gym. "You are an embarrassment to this family." It was my Uncle Magnus, standing right by the microphone. He held it tight, like it was a weapon he wanted to use. "Before I tell you more, I want you to think about this for a second. What would you do if your own family made fun of you in front of everyone? Imagine it. You worked hard, you were proud, and suddenly someone you love shouts at you in front of a crowd." I froze. My graduation cap wobbled a little as I slowly turned my head. I could feel my heart beating fast, but my face stayed calm. Uncle Magnus' eyes were wild, and his voice was mean and sharp. "She works at a gas station just to pay for her school," he shouted so loudly that it hurt to hear. People in the bleachers started laughing. My own family. Aunt Avelini pretended to cough to hide a grin, and my cousin Lucian smirked like he was watching a comedy show. Uncle Magnus roared, "And now she thinks she deserves applause." I didn't say a single word. I didn't cry. My hands shook a little while holding my diploma case, but it wasn't because I was scared. I was holding back my feelings. I would not let them see me upset. I refused to give them that satisfaction. Just as my uncle took a deep breath to yell again, the university dean stepped up. "We have a special guest with us today," she said calmly. A ripple of whispers spread through the crowd. Everyone turned to see who she was talking about. Then, there was the click of polished shoes on the gym floor. I knew that sound immediately. There he was, Cassio Riven, my husband. He wore a sharp gray suit and a steel blue tie. Every step he took showed quiet confidence, like he owned the room. He is the founder of Riven Equity Partners, one of the most famous tech investment companies in Silicon Valley. The crowd gasped when they saw him. Uncle Magnus stumbled back, looking shocked and angry. Cassio walked up to me, took my hand, kissed it lightly, and turned to the microphone. "She didn't just work at a gas station," he said quietly but firmly. "She studied calculus at midnight after working long shifts. She helped her classmates for free. She fed her little brother while your family laughed at her. She didn't ask for respect. She earned it. And now Dr. Amaris Thorne is graduating top of her class in biomedical engineering, while also building a startup that just received $7 million in pre-seed funding." I looked at my aunt. Her mouth was wide open. Lucian was silent, his eyes big. Cassio leaned close and whispered, "Let's show them who you really are." I smiled for the first time that day. But I wasn't done. Not even close. When we stepped off the stage, I felt every eye following me. The ceremony ended. Caps flew in the air. Cameras flashed everywhere. But I only saw their faces, shocked and stunned. My Uncle Magnus ran toward us, his face red with fury. "What kind of game is this, Amaris? You marry some slick investor and think it erases where you came from," he yelled. I turned slowly to face him, my voice calm and steady. "And where do you think I came from, Uncle Magnus?" He shouted. "A mop bucket. You cleaned bathrooms at 16. You lived in a rusty trailer behind Route 37. Don't act like you're one of them now." I didn't flinch. My hands stayed firm around my diploma. Cassio stepped in, his voice calm but sharp as a knife. "I chose her," he said. "Not because of where she started, but because of everything she survived." Magnus sneered. "What? Her little story makes her worth something." Cassio didn't blink. "It does. That trailer you mocked? She bought the land. She fixed it, and now it has 4 small houses that people rent. While you were making fun of her, she was learning how to invest. She now owns 3 properties across California, including a duplex in San Jose, all in her name." Avelini scoffed. "You're lying. She's just playing dress-up." I stared at her. "Was I? Because I remember you calling my mother dramatically when she was dying of lupus. I remember cleaning hotel rooms after school to pay for her medicine while you posted your fancy wine tours on Facebook." Avelini's smirk started to crack. I could see her hands trembling. "And you," I continued, "stood at her funeral and said she should have fought harder." Her hand shook and no one spoke. Cassio pulled out his phone and tapped it. A video appeared on a big screen behind us. First, it showed Uncle Magnus sneaking a bracelet at a golf resort. Then Aunt Avelini yelled at a teenage waitress at a fancy lounge. And Lucian, lying face down in his car, with a police ticket on the windshield. "You thought your last name would protect you," Cassio said, calm and steady. "It doesn't. We aren't here to threaten you, but you should know something. She is not trying to prove herself to people who never had the courage to match her struggle." I looked Magnus in the eye. "You tried to humiliate me today. But I'm not ashamed." He narrowed his eyes. "Why not? I smiled. Because the girl from the trailer park, she now owns your mortgage. Magnus blinked. What? I said. I bought your house last month through Riven Holdings. Check your next statement. He staggered backward. Amaris, you wouldn't. I smiled, but I wasn't done. He looked like he saw a ghost. Aunt Avellini clutched her pearls. Lucian stepped back, scraping his sneakers on the ground like he wanted to disappear. You bought my house, Magnus said. That's not legal. That can't be legal. Cassiel's voice cut through the tension. Perfectly legal, he said. You missed your second mortgage payment months ago. Amaris made the highest bid through a company, so you would never know it was her. Avellini's voice sounded hollow. But why? Why do this to my family? I tilted my head. Because I begged you to stop making fun of me for 10 years, and you laughed every single time. Because I watched my mother die in a hospital bed while you popped champagne 3 meters away and ignored your phones. Because I cleaned highway motel bathrooms while you said I was chasing dreams that would never happen. Cassiel held my hand, squeezing it gently. You said I was the family embarrassment, I continued. But you are the family's shame. You're cruel because it makes you feel powerful. Avellini's lips trembled. Lucian muttered. Okay, enough. You made your point. What now? I turned to him, my eyes steady as glass. No, I said. You humiliated me for years. Today, I am freeing myself from your version of me. A soft murmur spread through the crowd. Former classmates and teachers had gathered along the sidewalk to watch. I could feel their eyes following every move I made. Let's go, I said, brushing my graduation gown as I turned. A black car rolled up, not Cassiel's usual Tesla. A quiet, shiny Rolls-Royce. The driver stepped out and opened the back door. A woman with elegant silver hair, warm eyes, and a cane stepped out. Lucian blinked. Grandma Eudora? She looked at all of us with a long, sad gaze. I stayed quiet for too long, she said softly. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out a sealed envelope. I changed my will last year, she said, placing it in my hand. Avellini gasped. Mom, what are you saying? I gave Amaris full control of my estate. Vineyards, houses, everything, Grandma said. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told you'd never make it, listen to her story. Amaris's story isn't over yet, and neither is yours. Grandma continued. I watched all of you mock her while she worked harder than any of you ever did. You called Amaris a failure, but she's the only reason this family still has a chance at redemption. Uncle Magnus took a step forward, but Grandma raised her cane like a sword. Don't, she said. You've taken enough from her. I slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a notarized letter and a brass key. To the house by Clearview Lake, Grandma said softly. Your mother's favorite place. It's yours now. Cassiel leaned close and whispered. This is the moment they realized. They never broke you. I exhaled and looked each of them in the eye. This isn't revenge, I said. It's restoration. I'm not here to ruin you. I'm just done pretending you ever mattered. Then I turned away. Behind me, the silence felt heavy like broken glass. Their shoulders slumped, their feet shuffled. Even the sound of our heels on the stone driveway was louder than the tension they left behind. It felt like the curtain falling on a play they never thought would end without them in the spotlight. We reached the car, and as I got in, I felt lighter than I had in years. I realized something important. No matter what anyone said or did, I was proud of myself. I had earned everything the hard way. And now, at last, I could look forward without fear or shame. The car door closed softly, and I looked out the window one last time. My Uncle Magnus was standing there, frozen in shock. Aunt Avellini's face was pale. Lucian looked like he wanted to disappear. And behind them, the crowd whispered and stared. I smiled. Not a cruel smile, but a free smile. I had survived. I had grown stronger. And this was just the beginning. Because I learned something that day. Your past doesn't define you. Your family doesn't define you. You define yourself with every choice you make, with every hard hour you endure, and with every kind act you give to the world. And if anyone ever tries to make you feel small, remember this. You can rise. You can shine. You can turn every insult into strength, every laugh into courage, and every tear into power. As the car drove away, I felt the warm sun on my face, the wind in my hair, and the steady hand of my husband holding mine. I realized I was finally free. Free from judgment. Free from shame. Free to live the life I had worked so hard to earn. And somewhere deep in me, I knew this story wasn't over. Not yet. There were adventures waiting, challenges to face, and dreams to chase. But for now, I was exactly where I was meant to be. Cassiel opened the door and nodded at me. But before I stepped inside, I felt something pulling at me like a small tug in my chest. I turned around. They still didn't understand. They thought all of this, the fight, the tension, the arguments, was about money. Or the house. Or the car. Or my husband. Or fancy dresses. Or what other people would say about us. It wasn't any of those things. So, I walked back toward them. I was calm, but my voice and my heart were firm. Uncle Magnus looked upset. His jaw was tight, and he didn't know what to say. Aunt Avellini dabbed at her eyes, pretending to cry, but I could tell there weren't really any tears. Lucian crossed his arms and looked mad. His jaw was clenched. He was still thinking he could twist the story to make himself look better. You know what hurts the most? I said in a quiet, clear voice. It wasn't the bleach I used when I cleaned. It wasn't working 3 jobs to pay for school or bills. It wasn't the quiet times when nobody noticed me. No, it was worse than that. Every time I worked hard and achieved something, they said I didn't earn it. They said it was luck. They said it was cute. They said it wouldn't last and that it was embarrassing for me to even try. Magnus muttered something under his breath, probably trying to make me feel small. You made me feel small, I said, my voice shaking just a little, showing up to family dinners in my janitor uniform like it was weird. But I was normal. I was just me. You were the ones pretending. Spending money you didn't have to impress people who didn't care about you. I kept going, naming things they had done to pretend they were better than they were. Magnus, you refinanced your house 5 times and acted like everything was perfect. Lucian, you sold your car and said it was for a startup, when really it was because of your crypto plans. And Avellini, I looked her in the eyes, you borrowed my student loan money to pay for Botox. You told me it was an investment in your image. Their mouths fell open. They couldn't believe I was saying all of this. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't yelling. I was just holding up a mirror and showing them the truth. You made this story, I said. That I was the failure. That I was the sad little janitor. But I was the only one being real. The only one not pretending. The room became very quiet. It felt heavy, like the air was thick with words we hadn't said in years. Then I looked at Grandma Eudora. I had always thought being quiet and humble would make them respect me. I thought if I didn't argue, if I didn't fight back, they would finally see that I was worthy. But it didn't work. It only made me feel smaller in their eyes. I'm done shrinking so you can feel tall, I said. Tears started to shimmer in Grandma Eudora's eyes. I should have said something years ago, she whispered, her voice soft and shaky. I'm saying it now, I told her. That's enough. Suddenly, Avellini stepped forward. Her hands were shaking. Amaris, wait, she said. Maybe we misunderstood. Maybe we can talk now. I stared at her for a long moment. You want to talk now? I asked flatly. She hesitated. We're family, she said. The word hit me hard. No, I said quietly. We're relatives. That's not the same as family. I turned around and walked back to the car. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with a feeling of freedom. The door closed softly behind me. Cassiel reached over and took my hand. His thumb moved slowly over my knuckles like a quiet promise that everything was going to be okay. You okay? He asked gently. I nodded, feeling lighter than I had in years. Yeah, I said. And then I realized something important. For years, I thought proving them wrong would make me feel happy. But it didn't. What feels good is knowing I didn't turn into them. I didn't become fake or mean. I stayed real. Cassiel gave me that slow, proud smile he saves for when I surprise him. You didn't, he said. You became stronger. Unstoppable. The road ahead was wide and open. The wind tangled in my hair. For the first time in years, I breathed freely. No more shrinking. No more silence. No more shame. And as the San Francisco skyline appeared in front of us, I whispered to myself, I earned this. 2 weeks later, I stood barefoot on the hardwood floors of my mother's old lake house. Now it was legally mine. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows, making the house glow with golden light. Outside, the lake shimmered and rippled, and the breeze moved the sheer curtains gently, like a soft memory brushing past. I hadn't cried when I regained my dignity. But that morning I did. Not from sadness. Not from pain. From peace. After years of being quiet, being rejected, and being made to feel small, I was finally standing in a place that was mine. Not just on paper, but in my heart. Cassiel came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. You didn't just survive them, Amaris, he said quietly. You turned every hurt, every shame, into something powerful. I leaned into him. It doesn't feel real, I said softly. "It is," he said. "It's yours." Then there was a knock at the door. I stepped away and opened it. Grandma Jones was there, her cane in hand, looking kind and gentle. "Did I catch you at a bad time?" she asked softly. "Never," I said, smiling, and pulled her into a hug. She walked carefully into the house, looking around at everything like she was seeing it for the first time. "Your mother loved this place," she said. "She would be so proud of you." "I hope so," I said, swallowing hard. "She would," she said firmly. Then her voice lowered. "Amaris, I need to apologize." "You don't have to," I said. "I do," she insisted. "I watched them tear you down. I watched you carry a weight no child should have to carry. And I stayed quiet to keep the peace. But my silence hurt you, and it hurt me too." I hugged her tightly. "Thank you for finally saying something. I was never really alone," she whispered. Later, we sat on the deck, just the three of us with coffee in hand. The lake sparkled, moving in the sunlight like it was alive. That afternoon, a thick envelope arrived at the door. I opened it. It was the official confirmation. Full ownership of the house. I held the power to evict Magnus if I wanted to. I could return every bit of cruelty he had ever shown me. But I didn't. I picked up my phone and dialed his number. "Amaris," he said after a long pause, sounding wary. "I'm transferring the house back to you," I said calmly. "But under one condition. You will apologize. And not quietly. I want it said in front of the same people who laughed with you. I want them to know it was never me who brought disgrace to this family." He stammered, confused. "Why would you do that after everything?" "Because I don't want to become what you are, Magnus," I said. "Petty, vengeful, miserable. I didn't fight to win. I fought to rise." He didn't reply, but I knew he understood. "I'll expect that apology by Sunday," I added, then hung up. Cassiel looked at me, his eyes wide with surprise. "You just gave away the house." I nodded. "I gave away the house, not my power. I still have that. But I'm choosing peace." That Sunday, at a brunch hosted by one of our distant cousins in Marin, Magnus stood red-faced and stiff. He trembled, looking straight at me. "I mocked Amaris when she should have been celebrated," he said, his voice shaking. "I tried to bury her story because I was ashamed of my own. I was wrong. She is not a disgrace. She is the only one among us who never pretended to be someone she wasn't." The room went silent. Avellini blinked back tears. Lucian didn't even lift his head. No one clapped. I stood up, met Magnus' gaze, and walked out quietly. I didn't need applause. I didn't need revenge. They would remember that moment for the rest of their lives. And that was enough. Months passed. I started a biomedical research foundation named after my mom. Cassiel and I traveled. We built something real, something ours. Some nights, I would lie awake and remember my graduation. The microphone. The laughter. The shame. And I would smile because the girl who once cleaned motel floors now funded scholarships for girls like her. The woman they once mocked had become a name whispered with respect. Every attempt to break me had taught me how to rebuild, stronger, wiser, and untouchable. And next time someone dared to say I didn't belong, I would smile and say, "No, you just didn't see who I was becoming." If anyone has ever been made to feel small for dreaming big, remember this: you can be strong. You can be quiet. You can be unstoppable.